Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. So on this channel, I usually primarily talk about the Cleveland Browns, but there's been a situation involving the AFC North that I also want to talk about. If you don't know, I also cover the AFC North on my show, AFC North Talk, with Ace, Sonny, and Jarrett Bailey, where we talk about everything going on in the North. So I keep tabs on every AFC North team. I've watched every AFC North game this year. And I think an interesting situation is happening with Lamar Jackson as far as if he'll get the MVP and if he deserves the MVP, that whole conversation surrounding him. Because I think at this point, right, we're 16 games into the season, Lamar Jackson should be the MVP. I know it's a controversial thing to say, especially when talking to a room primarily filled with Browns fans, but he should be the MVP. He has every argument in his favor to be the MVP. I think people want to give the award to Josh Allen, but Lamar Jackson, if we're just looking at what has been done in this regular season, which that award is supposed to evaluate, there is no argument that Lamar Jackson has not been significantly better than Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson has 3,955 passing yards, 39 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So he's going to be a 4,000-yard passer. He's going to have 40 touchdowns, and he's going to have less than 10 interceptions more than likely by the end of the year. That's an MVP stat line alone. Like, if he did nothing else, that itself would be a MVP level stat line. He's top 5 in the league in passing. Like, that's an MVP stat line. Just point blank period by itself. When you include the rushing numbers, this thing gets ridiculous. Did you know that Lamar Jackson is in like the top 30 of rushers? Right? Where's Lamar Jackson? He's number 20 in the NFL in rushers. He's 852 yards. If he has like one or two good rushing games, it's possible that Lamar Jackson could throw for 4,000 yards and run for 1,000 yards. I don't know if that's been done before, but it feels like one of those things that if it has been done, it's only been Lamar Jackson that's been able to do it in the NFL. By the way, he has 4 rushing touchdowns, so he has 43 touchdowns total. Now, he does have 8 total turnovers, I think 4 fumbled losses, and then 4 interceptions. But the output from him is incredible. I mean, you're talking about over 4,500 yards, easy, total offense. And then you're comparing that to Josh Allen, who's no slouch. Josh Allen's having a damn fine season. Let's talk about Josh Allen. He has 3,500 yards, 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's not a bad stat line at all. It's a pretty good stat line. And the fact that he's cut those turnovers down, right? Last year, he was at 18 interceptions. 2022, he was at 14. 2021, 15. 2020, 10. So since 2020, it's looking like his best year since 2020. But we got to be honest here. This season is not going to eclipse Josh Allen's 2020. Like, this isn't even his best season that he's had. And we're talking about this being a year where he gets the MVP. And that brings me to the bar that is so different between these quarterbacks, right? Because right now, people are advocating that Josh Allen should be the MVP. And Josh Allen isn't even having close to a career year right now. Like, that's what's going on. Josh Allen has had a season that was significantly better than the season he's having right now in his career. Lamar Jackson is a 2-time MVP who is having his best season in his career. And let me go see what the favorite is on the betting markets. But I believe that Josh Allen is still the betting favorite to win this award, right? Pretty much everywhere except for like one place has him as the betting favorite to win this. No, actually everywhere has him as a betting favorite to win this award. And this speaks to me the problem with the MVP award and the existential question about the MVP award, which is, what is this award actually awarding? Like when we talk about the MVP, I know a lot of people say it should be the most valuable player. If you take that player off the team, then and that team's worse, then that's the most valuable player. That's who should win the MVP. But that argument always gets used and never applied, right? Like everybody uses that argument kind of as a concession speech, right? So that's not really what we're voting on with the MVP. Some people say it's the best player on the best team. Well, the best player on the best team is Patrick Mahomes. So it's not Lamar Jackson. It's not Josh Allen, and nobody's trying to get the MVP right now to Patrick Mahomes. So that can't be the case here, right? And then some people say, hey, the MVP goes to the guy having the best individual season. Well, that guy's Lamar Jackson this year. Clearly Lamar Jackson. I mean, Lamar Jackson's a couple touchdowns away from eclipsing Josh Allen's career high. But the energy is not there to give him the MVP award because it seems like the bar is higher for Lamar Jackson because he's already won 2 MVPs. And that's where I think this conversation gets even more interesting. Because should that matter? Right? If we're awarding the MVP per year to the person who has had the best individual season, why should we factor in how many times that person has won the award when that award is supposed to be about that individual season alone? Like, that's why you win the MVP. It's not based off of your prior body of work. It's not a lifetime achievement award. It's a MVP for a season award. So it feels like for Josh Allen, people want to give it to him kind of as a lifetime achievement award because he's always been like second or third in MVP voting. But when he has a hot year, Pat Mahomes is having a hot year. When he has a hot year, Lamar Jackson's having a hot year. People look at Josh Allen. They know he's 28. They know that he's entering this point of his career where he's probably not going to put up his peak statistical output anymore. And they want to give him something, right? They want that MVP to be on his resume. So when they get to the end of Josh Allen's career, they don't say to themselves, hey, man, this guy never won MVP. So they kind of want to give him that to add to his legacy because they're worried that it might come a day where he doesn't get that award. Well, there might be, if you don't give it to him this year, he might go his whole career, not get the award. And then we're wondering why Josh Allen never got the MVP award, right? It's kind of like with the Kobe argument, right? Where Kobe didn't get the multiple MVPs that you would expect Kobe to get. So, you know, this is kind of a retroactive fixing of that argument. And it goes the other way for Lamar Jackson. While Josh Allen is getting more consideration for this award than I think his stats kind of consider him for, especially when you look at the other guys in the category, right? Obviously, Joe Burrow's not going to get it on a team that might not make the playoffs, but Joe Burrow's having a more impressive season than Josh Allen. And definitely Lamar Jackson's having a more impressive season than Josh Allen because the records are pretty much identical at this point, right? Josh Allen is 12-3. Lamar Jackson is 11-5. You're not going to not give the MVP to somebody because they're only winning their division, right? So all those things are equal except for Lamar has better stats, but it feels like people are considering this kind of a lifetime achievement award for Josh Allen to kind of just give him something. But then you look at Lamar Jackson, and it's almost like his prior achievements are what's holding him back from winning this award because people don't want to give him a 3-time MVP because he hasn't won in the playoffs. This feels a lot like what happened to Nikola Jokic, where people got tired of giving him the MVP. And even though that third year in a row, he was the MVP, all you heard were the people that he would be joining, right? All you heard when Jokic was going for that third MVP was, oh, well, Larry Bird's the only guy to ever do this, or this guy's only, and we're going to really let Jokic join that rarefied air. That was the big argument against Jokic winning that MVP, and then Joel Embiid ultimately getting it. It ended up looking silly because Jokic won the championship the year after, and it's all kind of in the dust now about caring about whether he got his third MVP or not. And that's my whole thing. We can't try to retroactively in the present worry about legacy. All we can do is follow what the guidelines for the award should be, right? And if the guidelines for the award are that this goes to the guy who had the best regular season, we can't worry about if Josh Allen 10 years down the line will get an MVP and if that will feel good or not, or if Lamar Jackson being a 3-time MVP makes any sense. That's not what the award is about. The award is simply who's having the best season. It's bad enough that it's become a quarterback-only award. But to now try to wield it in a way to build legacy like this, or to award a award to somebody because you feel like it's going to be good for their legacy or their legacy has not yet earned it while they're still actively playing is foolish. Because what if Lamar wins the Super Bowl this year and he was clearly the best quarterback and didn't win the MVP? Well, now we're going to look at Josh Allen's MVP as fraudulent if that happens, right? Kind of like how we look at Steve Nash's MVPs because Kobe should have got him. That's the thing that's going on with Lamar and the MVP this year because, like, I don't know how. And again, maybe Josh Allen, like, throws 10 touchdowns this week. He still has to play his game, right? Like that's the one thing, right? Maybe he throws 10 touchdowns this week against the Jets. It's certainly possible. He throws for 1,000 yards and like pull with 400 yards and then pulls in with Lamar. But statistically, he's getting beat on all fronts. Lamar is rushing for more yards than him. Lamar is throwing for more yards than him. Lamar is more productive, more efficient through the air and on the ground than him. Lamar's just a better player than him. Another issue I have with where these arguments are is that if we're going to make the no playoff success argument against Lamar Jackson winning the MVP, you can't make that argument for Josh Allen winning it too. Right? Like if you're going to say Lamar can't win the award because he has not had the prerequisite amount of playoff success, well, then you can't look at a 28-year-old Josh Allen who has not accomplished as much as Lamar Jackson has in the playoffs or has a similar failing track record in the playoffs as far as like getting to the Super Bowl. Like if this were between Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, I would get the tiebreaker being the prior playoff success because, okay, you got to break the tie with something. Joe Burrow has been a better bet in the playoffs than Lamar Jackson, but Josh Allen has been just as bad as a bet in the playoffs as Lamar Jackson has been. Both of these guys have massive questions about their playoff ability, right? And again, it's a regular season award. It really shouldn't matter what you do in the playoffs. But even if you're going to make that argument for Josh Allen, I mean, not for Josh Allen, against Lamar Jackson, you got to realize that the dude that's going to benefit from that argument also has the same questions in the playoffs as Lamar Jackson. Like, does that make sense? It doesn't make sense to me. And it is interesting to see this hesitancy for whatever reason for people to understand that Lamar Jackson is obviously the second best quarterback in the NFL. I mean, like he has a case to win his third MVP in an era that includes Patrick Mahomes. Think about that, right? And another thing that I found interesting is that like as Mahomes has ascended and the Chiefs have ascended to become the new Brady and Patriots, kind of like they function as the same thing. People root against them in a similar way. Like that's who the NFL machine has replacing what Tom Brady and the Patriots used to kind of do for the league, where they were always the perennial Super Bowl contenders, the perennial champs. Beating them meant something. That's what Mahomes and the Chiefs are now. And it's been interesting to see the league struggle to find the Peyton Manning to the new Tom Brady. And they really, really tried to make it Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow individually, you know, he's obviously an elite quarterback, right? But what he isn't is the second best quarterback in the league. Like that second best guy, the guy that Pat Mahomes is constantly competing with in order to get any individual awards, and the guy who has dominated the regular season in the same way that Peyton Manning used to dominate the regular season is clearly Lamar Jackson. Like there's no doubt in my mind. Lamar Jackson's regular season accomplishments look very similar to Peyton Manning's. And if we're keeping it a buck, His regular season, his postseason failures look a lot like Peyton Manning's. There's a lot of similarity there, right? But it seems like there's this push to make that Joe Burrow instead of Lamar Jackson. But it's Lamar Jackson. That's the guy, right? That's the second best quarterback in the NFL. And that's the guy who should probably be the MVP this year, because what he has been able to do has been spectacular, right? Like, he's done this in the AFC North. He's done this against pretty solid competition. He's done this at a higher level than he's ever done before, right? If you're looking at this, like, my thing with Pat Mahomes is it's hard for Pat Mahomes to win an MVP because Pat Mahomes is always going to be judged by the other seasons that Pat Mahomes has had. And it's hard for you to win an MVP when your individual bar is set so high. But the thing with Lamar is that, yeah, he has a high individual bar, but in week 16, going into 17, one game left in the season for him, he has the most passing touchdowns he's ever had and the least interceptions he's ever had in a full season. Rushing-wise, he's at his third best rushing season in his career. Only second to the 2 years that he got over 1,000 yards. So he's cleared his own bar, which is not something you can say that Josh Allen has done yet. This is why I find, like, the fact that Josh Allen is the overwhelming favorite right now to win that MVP just so confusing, because the only reason to not give Lamar Jackson the MVP right now is because you want to give it to Josh Allen, not because Josh Allen should get the award, because he's earned it based on his regular season output. It's like you're punishing Lamar for not winning in the playoffs and for winning two MVPs in the past. So you don't want to give him the third one because he hasn't won in the playoffs. I think if Lamar had won a Super Bowl, this would be a lot easier of a conversation for folks to have. But because he hasn't won a Super Bowl, because he's won two MVPs already, they don't want to give him the third one until he wins a Super Bowl. But we're watching one of the most incredible seasons of all time. This guy's number 1 in passing touchdowns. He is number 20 in rushing yards and number 4 in passing yards. This is the number 1. Like, this is the MVP. That season feels like an MVP. But I don't know. People don't want to give it to him. It's incredibly interesting. He has eclipsed every other MVP season he's had. You look at what he did last year, 36. He's already passed every single number that he had last year, passing wise. He's eclipsed it. He's so much better than he was last year as a passer. And he's eclipsed his rushing numbers from last year. Like, this dude's the MVP, but it seems like nobody wants to give him it. And that's interesting. That's interesting because I don't think that it should matter if he's won 2 MVPs before. If you give him this one, if he is clearly still, like, if this were close between him and Josh Allen, I would get it, but this ain't close. There's no way that this is close right now. Like, statistically, it's not. There's no argument you can make unless Josh Allen throws out a monster game against the Jets. It's not close, but people are really trying to make it so Lamar don't win that MVP award. I just find that super interesting. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think Lamar should be the MVP this year? Or, do you have an argument for him not getting it that's based on his statistics this year? Because I just can't see it. Like, this year, he's averaging the most per pass he's ever had, right? Yards per rush, he's third highest in that one in his career. He's playing the best football of his career, and he's a 2-time MVP. But let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have a better night. Peace.